Hello everyone, my name is Sam, and today I'll be hosting along with Chief. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the world you are in. We are going to be discussing combined power of interoperability and real world assets, as you must have read in the title. So just a quick reminder for each one of you, if you haven't joined in the our Discord yet, please do. We have very interesting stuff going on there. You can find the link in bio. Chief, passing over to you.
Indeed, yes. Thank you, Sam. Much appreciated. Let's kick it off, and we'll do the checks as we move through. But welcome again for another episode of X Talks, focusing a little bit on interoperability tonight. I know it's something that a lot of our listeners love hearing about, and hearing what is coming in the world of crypto. I think it's going to be fantastic. The ability to go cross-chain without using bridges, without that risk, without all of that those problems. And it's something that DeFi in particular has been screaming out for. You look at the number of hacks that occurred, I think it was last year or the year before, whenever it was, over $3 billion hacked just in those on bridges. It's quite scary. They're just huge numbers. So what I'd like to do is pass over to each of our speakers to actually give us a little bit of an introduction to themselves and their project, a little bit about maybe their background, and especially for those thinking that those that are new to crypto or to DeFi, it would be really good to hear about your project. And I'll pass over to Hadia first.
Yeah, hi, thanks guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Cool. So firstly, thank you so much for having us. And this is actually Hash from RWA Finance. And yep, I'm actually in the space for around 5 years. I started as a trader, instructor, and also as a marketing manager and a branding manager. So I'm working with RWA Finance as a branding manager. What is RWA Finance? Actually, we are a decentralized trading platform on Arbitrum for tokenized real-world assets, allowing users to swap various RWA and tokens using liquidity book, as you know, and our platform integrates the cutting-edge services such as zero-knowledge, decentralized identity, and RWA tokenization. Along with comprehensive launchpad, and additionally, we provide a suite of financial services also, including a lending protocol, staking options, also trading. We have a lot of options and a lot of solutions, let's say, and yeah, to just make it more smooth for everyone. And we are trying to to be from the good or solid projects in RWA overall. So yeah, that's it.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And we'll go over to Jonathan next, and have a little bit of an intro, if we could, please.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. So hi everyone, this is Jonathan. I'm a guardian at Nabla Finance. And to just rush through the USPs that we will probably touch upon a little bit more later. So Nabla is a AMM with a focus on, well, of course, all of the blue chip crypto coins, but also for RWAs and Forex. And to make that worthwhile to all of the participants on our platform comes with cool features, namely no impermanent loss. We have Oracle-informed asset pricing. And then we have a bunch of mechanisms to make it easy for asset issuers that they do not require as much liquidity to get their asset trading. So yeah, this is how we want to cater to the RWA world. I think we're quite well set up to do that. And yeah, excited to dive into the details a little more.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that introduction. And for those that don't know, I mean, I'm sure most of our listeners probably know what RWA is, but it's a real world asset. So it could be literally anything from a traditional finance share all the way through to a building, to a car, to a plane. It could be absolutely anything. But being able to tokenize those is such an amazing thing that really only crypto can offer. And when you start thinking about it, yes, okay, it can be done through stock markets and things like that, but what about through crypto to make it available? It's almost like if you consider the way markets are around the world, every single country that's got any form of democracy has some form of stock exchange, and even others that don't have democracy. And they're crucial to the operations of finance in the world, and companies, and whether it's a mining company or companies like Apple or any of those others, and being able to tokenize a physical product, and also opening up the markets literally to be global, so that it's so much easier for people to operate and invest. Now I know we're still trying to get the other guys up and connected, and hopefully they'll be up very shortly. I'm just trying to accept some speakers at the moment. But what I'll do in the meantime, until we get those guys up, Hash or Hadir, can you give us a little bit of an overview of your project? What problems are you trying to solve in the DeFi space, and do you differentiate yourself from any other projects out there?
Yes, sure. I'm sorry. So you can hear me good, right? Because your voice is breaking. So, so yeah, that's why. So your question, like how we solve through our project, how we solve the issues, right? Or challenges in RWA. Okay, this is good. So actually, or the first thing that we solve it through our services, let's say, because we provide services and functions, as I mentioned. The first thing that it's very important for me, because as I mentioned, one of my experience as educational or instructor. So the first thing, the awareness, because even for me, by the way, I'm still new in RWA, like for 7 months now. So a lot of people maybe they struggling to understand what is tokenization, like how it works, how we will change the traditional finance. So what is the new solution? Like what is actually the benefits from tokenization? A lot of people are still struggling in this, and not only RWA, to be honest, the blockchain overall. So a lot of people, they just talk about, like Bitcoin, even the blockchain. We still need to share more awareness about what is the blockchain. It's not only about crypto, not only Bitcoin, it's more than that. So number one, to share awareness about RWA. And we do this, actually we do videos and a lot of AMAs with the community to educate our community about the whole field, not only us, not only RWA Finance. And the second thing that it's also important, and one of the challenges, the security concern, So through our platform, or the overall, let's say the overall RWA, especially in DeFi, security has like a high risk, because in the end, tokenization sometimes contain like some sensitive data, So through the smart contract, through the blockchain protocols, we for sure provide or make our token or our platform more secure, So yeah, the transparency that we provide. So I believe this is the most important things we actually solve and we care about. Thank you.
Right, now, thank you very much. I'm just going to touch a little bit on some of the various cryptos and things and coins and tokens that are out there at the moment, and just to give people a little bit of an understanding, and have a think about this. That when you look at things like Bitcoin, and you then turn around and say, okay, well, yeah, Bitcoin's there and it's got a really high price and et cetera, and it goes up and down, in price movements every day and over months. But
yeah, 43
what's
now.
the difference? Yeah, what's the difference between Bitcoin and say a meme coin? And for me, when you look at Bitcoin, what's the substance behind it, aside from being one of the first cryptos out there? as a store of wealth. How does that differ from a meme coin except the size? Because the concept is probably very similar. But when you look at real world assets, what you're doing is you're actually tokenizing a physical real world asset, a real world product. And I think that's actually got a lot more substance to it behind it than the likes of Bitcoin, meme coins, any of them really. Do you think you'd agree with that?
I agree with you, but for like Bitcoin, for everyone, it's actually like a lot of people, even in Middle East, because I'm actually from Middle East. So a lot of people here, they think that because of the Bitcoin, we know the blockchain, or we know actually the whole industry, but this is not that correct, you know? So
Absolutely.
yeah. So Bitcoin is, for us, it's like a digital gold, you know, like it's, we cannot say like we tokenize the gold to Bitcoin, but it's like it has the same things like gold, you know. So for us in the field, it's the digital gold
perception.
for us.
No, you're right, but it is perception of it as a product, and I'm not knocking it. I'm saying it's just something that people see. They consider it a digital piece of gold, but with gold itself, you've got a physical product. So if you were to tokenize gold, does that mean it would be better than Bitcoin? I don't know. Either way,
Yes.
yeah.
It's even for me, to be honest, it's still confused because gold, to tokenize gold, I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's not that easy, because I don't know how they can provide even the security, for example, for this, you know, how I can make sure that it's backed by this amount of gold. It's still confused, to be honest, especially the tokens backed by gold.
Yeah, look, I think we're a little way away from tokenizing something like gold, simply because it has such a high physical worth in comparison to others. But certainly with tokenizing literally anything else, from a house to a building to a shopping center to a business to literally anything. What I might do now is jump over to Jonathan and maybe give us a little bit of a view on what problems you're trying to solve in the DeFi space.
Yeah, happy to. So as an AMM, I think our main competitors probably are Uniswap, Curve, and yeah, so everybody, just to give an idea of what it is we are doing at the very core. Our design is, although pretty much different. So when you're providing liquidity in Uniswap, one of the greatest risks that you are facing is impermanent loss. Essentially, you're always selling the asset that is going up and buying the asset that is going down. That is a huge risk for liquidity providers, and protocols usually have to make up for that with token incentives. That can become quite costly. So that is a cost that is pretty much eliminated with Nabla, because people can provide liquidity in one asset. Now, these asset prices are Oracle informed, which is also important for liquidity providers. So let's say Bitcoin is going to $1 million now, and you're providing liquidity for Bitcoin in Uniswap. Well, you are going to sell Bitcoin all the way up to $1 million and take a bad deal all the way there. So that is also mitigated here. And yeah, I think that is really, really interesting for RWA issuers or people that want to tokenize their assets. Because let's say, for example, let's stick to the gold bars. You have 5 gold bars at home and you want to tokenize them and make them available for trading. Now, if you want to, let's say you go through the process of tokenizing them and now you make them available on Uniswap. Well, to make them tradable, you have your 5 bars of gold tokenized, but you need to provide another asset that is tradable with it. So that is increasing the cost of making your gold bars tradable by a huge margin. And that is something that we are mitigating. So issuers of RWAs, they do not have to shoulder the huge cost of all the liquidity. It is much, much, much reduced with Nabla. And I think that is positioning us quite well for this RWA narrative to pick up, just because it is much cheaper to list it on Nabla compared to other platforms. And that should hopefully see some very interesting listings happening at our platform. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for now. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. No problem. Thank you very much for that. I also noticed we've got another speaker up here as well, and it's hopefully I can pronounce it correctly. Mikkel. Yeah, if you want to jump up and introduce yourself, that would be fantastic.
Hey, pretty close. I respond to anything that starts with an M, but it's actually Mikkel. Super glad to be here. I was on a space with you guys last week. Always very informative. We're doing something a little different, I guess. We provide liquidity for the jobs market. So we're trying to bring more jobs to market, connect top talent with those jobs so that we can go further and faster collectively as a space. And that's a little bit about what I also work in gaming. I'm co-founder of a Web3 game launcher. So yeah, happy to talk about any of the above. And RWA is just super hot right now. And I'm excited to join in on this conversation as well. I have a little bit of a cold. I'm under the weather, so please excuse my voice as well.
Well, at least we can't catch that over Twitter Spaces. So.
For real.
And also notice we've got another speaker here. And again, I'm going to have some problems pronouncing these tonight. So, Brad, that's about all I can see. So, if you jump up and say hello.
You actually got the name right. But yeah, happy to be on the stage here with you all. Sorry, I've been having network. My internet connection is pretty bad, so that was why I couldn't speak earlier. But yeah, I'm also representing Nabla on the stage here, and I am the community manager from Nabla Finance, and I've been in the space for almost like 3 to 4 years now. Majorly, earlier on it was just the crypto trading, and then got interested into the community side, building and stuff like that. So yeah, very much interested in real world.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Not sure if you just cut off
then.
Or...
I've been on a space with Mikkel as well. I don't know if you can remember, but yeah, nice to see you here.
Likewise.
Brilliant. No, thank you so much for that intro. Mikkel, I'll jump back over to you to give a little bit more of an overview. We've given the other projects a little bit of a chance to talk. So tell us a little bit more about your project and also basically what it does and what sort of problems you're solving. And that's across to you, Mikkel.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Repeat the question.
Not a problem. 2 seconds. So give us a little bit more of an overview, a little bit more information about the project and also what sort of problems you're trying to solve out there in the world.
Yeah, so twofold because, I do work for the game launcher and then crypto recruiters. So we're really trying to solve ownership. Like in Web2 gaming, there is, and we call it Web2 gaming in this space, but it's obviously just traditional gaming to them. There's this illusion of ownership of assets. You spend $10 on a Fortnite skin, you think it's yours, but you can't buy, sell, or trade that. Like we're all very familiar with this concept and comfortable with this concept in the space that you don't own that asset, whatever you purchased, and that it can be taken away from you at any time. Like CSGO at one point rugged every account with over $100,000 worth of value in assets just because it's that top-down centralized ecosystem. But the players really believe that they own these things. Like it's just, there's a disconnect. Honey, hold on, Mama's on his face. I also have my son here this morning. Sorry, guys. So they have this illusion of ownership, and it just makes it, it's that disconnect, right? So what we're trying to do is bring that evangelical argument to Web2 and let them know, like, hey, just because you think you own this, like decentralization and owning your own wallet and owning your own assets, that means something completely different. And yeah, sorry, I got to get my son real quick, but I'll come back.
No problem. Okay. All right. So what we'll do is Mikkel's given us a little bit of an overview of hers. So what we might do is move back over to Hadia now. And if you can give us a little bit of an idea of any successful projects, anything that's been in your space where the tokenization of those real world assets has impacted the financial landscape, that would be really good. Thank you.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have a specific example. Maybe once we launch our platform, so we will be this successful.
Well, maybe
yeah.
but yeah, maybe what you can do is give an idea of what So you've identified problems that you're trying to solve there, but maybe if you can expand on that a little bit about how you're going to do it.
Look, I would tell you something about also because there's a lot of projects now, new projects, even like us, they want to enter the RWA space. So, and as I mentioned from the beginning, it's still like a new era for a lot of people. And RWA believe that if you have a good and strong finance background, with for sure the blockchain, you would be amazing, but like any project have a solution for or in the RWA, it means that it would be a successful project in the end. So what we want to do, that we want to provide, for example, like more security, liquidity. We want to share more awareness and to educate our community for sure, and others. But number one, our community, so they can understand how we do the tokenization, how we, for example, like how we do tokenize assets, what the type of the assets that we stick to. For now, for us, we just focus with the real estate and stocks. Maybe other projects, they have different assets, but this is the two things that we focus on right now. But in the future, we have a plan to tokenize anything. Literally, even if you have your car and you want to tokenize it, we can do this, But for now, we just focus on real estate and as I mentioned, the stocks. So yeah, like that's overall. Thank you.
No, brilliant. Thank you. So now over to Jonathan. If you give us a little bit of an example of any particular projects or anything that you've worked with for, or that actually look at tokenization of real world assets and how it's impacted the financial landscape.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the most overlooked RWAs probably are stablecoins, and we probably all agree the impact on the Web3 space has been massive, right? So instead of having to cash out your holdings whenever you want to, go into dollar or any other stablecoin, you would have to, sell your coins, put it in your bank, and with stablecoins, that is all history. So that is probably one of the biggest shifts in Web3 that we have seen. And for the future of RWAs, I'm very, very interested in seeing how they will integrate in DeFi. So all of the things that we are currently doing in DeFi, lending, borrowing, it's going to be very interesting to see how that is going to, intertwine. And so just the ability to interact with your assets in a DeFi landscape. So if you're buying gold for now, well, you can have them in your hand and wait for a higher price and then sell them again. But how I envision the RWA space is that you can, collateralize your gold, take out a loan against it, and that is freeing up capital, and is a very, very strong point why tokenization of RWAs is making sense. And that is what I'm quite hopeful for to emerge pretty soon. And I think it will be another huge shift in Web3. And I'm very, very bullish on now the ability that Web 2 and Web 3 can really interact in a meaningful way, that we provide real value to assets that exist in the real world. And very excited to see how that all pans out. But for the most part, I'm just an observer here. But with Nabla, we now have the ability to also make them available to a much greater audience while reducing the cost of introducing these assets. So I'm very, very excited for what the future has to bring here.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Jonathan. So what I might touch on now is it's good to talk about all the possibilities and the capabilities that are coming across real world assets, but throughout, and this is across to all the speakers, we're now going to go through talking about the challenges that you've faced, or the problems that you see, and it really comes back to when we identify those problems, it actually enables us to focus on solving them and working out the best way to move forward. And then that actually opens up more opportunities for the integration side of it. So maybe give us a little bit of an overview of those challenges and where you see the opportunities. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with a challenge with your project. It could be in the real world asset side of things, or even when we're talking to God, I'm trying to pronounce it again. Sorry, Michaela, around the recruiting or the gaming side of it as well.
Yeah,
I'll start off with you. Yeah.
We've thought about quite a bit with gaming is selling entire accounts, and I guess it's like, I mean, that would be that's like a fine line between like a digital item and a real world item, but it's like the whole account, right? So my son will have these accounts in different games online or whatnot, and they'll acquire a certain amount of value, like a couple $100, and there's a difficulty in selling these accounts. So they're not NFTs, they're not items. It's like a login and a password, and safely transferring those to the new owner when somebody buys them. There's like a whole marketplace for this, but a lot of people are really getting scammed in it. So finding a way, that's something we're very interested in, finding a way to tokenize entire accounts for different games and allow people to sell those. I think that would be a pretty interesting use case.
Chief, I think you have muted yourself.
There I go, talking again to myself. Great. Okay, thanks, Sam. Hadia, if you can give us a little bit of an overview of the same question around the challenges and where you see those opportunities.
Yeah, sure. So I believe, like I already mentioned, the most challenge that we want to solve, the security concern, as I mentioned, and also the liquidity. So in, like increasing the liquidity in tokenization, it will enhance more the market, and also it will open the door. I always say that RWA, it's an open door for everyone, because you have literally unlimited accessibility as an investor. If you're a big investor, like a small one, a trader, even if you owner for a business. So because of tokenization, there's more opportunities. And the security, as I mentioned, is through the blockchain, is through the smart contract, the transparency that the blockchain provides for us and for everyone. So I believe this is most the two challenges, and also that we need to address these challenges is through our project, our platform, or even the other projects. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And now over to Jonathan. The same around the challenges and the opportunities.
Yeah, so let's start with the challenges. I would say one of the challenges is, of course, redeemability. So you have a RWA. How do you, well, extract the value, get it into your bank account, or, well, redeem it for a bar of gold? I think like there is a lot of questions still surrounding that. Also, the price tracking of RWAs is a little bit tricky. For example, a bar of gold is very easy to track, but if you're tokenizing your car, well, if you're crashing it, how does the blockchain know? So there is a little bit of a question mark still surrounding that. And then there is also compliance. So I hate to be a little bit black-pilled here, but in the European market, there is quite the regulatory challenge ahead. Probably some of you guys are aware there is the whole MiCA regulation coming up. And one of the things that is going to be very, very relevant for all of the protocols wanting to cater to Europeans is that, compliance. So, for example, a court can issue a statement to Circle, the issuer of USDC, and they can basically blacklist the USDC in your wallet. But if you're providing liquidity in USDC against Ethereum on Uniswap, for example, well, they cannot really comply with that. So that is a challenge that issuers and protocols have to tackle very soon. And that is something that we are already well prepared for. So yeah, we are expecting more regulation to be coming our way here. And we are already trying to establish ourselves in a way that we are able to react swiftly to all of these regulations. So that would be the challenges. there is, of course, also the cost of liquidity. You're launching your gold bars tokenized, but to make them tradable, well, you need liquidity. That is something that we tackle as well, because you can provide liquidity in a single asset. For the opportunities, there's going to be the DeFi integration. So you are borrowing treasury, you're buying treasury bills. And if you are able to collateralize them in some protocol, well, you can free up your capital again. And I think that will really, really open the door for some interesting plays here. But I also see it as a huge opportunity for crypto to really make tangible, real world effects that people do not necessarily know that they're interacting with blockchain again, that old meme. But I think with RWAs, it is just becoming so feasible for providers of financial assets to be switching over to the blockchain that this could actually become the truth very soon, that people, they are trading stocks in their Robinhood counterpart, and they are actually dealing on the blockchain. So that is a big opportunity that I see for crypto as a whole that is emerging from the RWA narrative.
No, thank you so much for that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up a little bit for the discussion around where and how each of you see the ability for interoperability to play a part in crypto or in blockchain in your particular projects. The ability to be able to go cross-chain without having to use a bridge, to be able to integrate and transact between whether it's any DEX or any exchange or any of those institutions. How would that affect you? And first, I'll jump across to Hadir. I think you're still on mute. Are you with us, Hadir? Maybe not yet, maybe busy. In that case, I'll jump across to Mikkel. If you can just give us a little bit of an idea of how being able to go cross-chain without using a bridge, how that would impact you.
Yeah, I think for gaming, that's something that everybody's really focused on, right? Like every single chain is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into, supporting huge games coming out to market. They're not all going to be EVM. There's going to be some on Solana. There's going to be some on Sui. Obviously, AVAX is doing some really cool things. And then there's like the subnets on AVAX. So there's still a long ways to go. Like gamers aren't going to want to come and log in through 5 different wallets and 5 different gaming ecosystems to play games across these different chains. They're just going to want one single access point where all of the games exist. So that's been a huge focus. And I've seen some pretty cool like layer ones that have been aiming to solve this, and some kind of neat technology. Wired is one. So hopefully we're a lot closer. I feel like we are a lot closer than we were like this time last year, but we still have a ways to go there to really simplify the ecosystem to where it's, has the potential to attract Web2 gamers.
Yeah, well, I'd just like to add to that I think what we produce is actually pretty unique, because we've actually got the ability to go cross-chain without using bridges, and we can do that between EVM and non-EVM chains. So we've got Solana there, and we'll be connecting up Bitcoin before the halving. So,
well, we should chat. I'd love to learn more.
I think so. Indeed, yes. So what I might do is I'll pass over now to Jonathan. Maybe give us a little bit of an idea how the ability to go cross-chain, that interoperability between previously incompatible chains would help.
Yeah, so as you already mentioned, bridges are a very, very big attack vector that gets trained quite often. So that's always a big risk for everybody that is interacting with bridged coins. So I really think one of the ways, of course, to mitigate that is if issuers are launching their assets on multiple chains. As we can see with USDC, USDT, they exist natively on these chains. So that is, of course, mitigating some of the bridging risk, but these are huge projects. And of course, it's not going to be feasible for every protocol to be launching on multiple chains. I really think it depends on the use case. If you are, for example, offering tokenized stocks, probably the end user does not care whether these stocks live on Ethereum or AVAX. They rather care about having a smooth interface, a smooth user experience. So I think it's really up to the protocols to abstract that a little bit so that the end user really doesn't have to be concerning himself with that. For the crypto native people, of course, it is very, very interesting. So for our protocol, we are currently still exploring which chain to launch on. That is something we are diligently exploring. And that is something that is playing a huge role for us as well. Interoperability, do assets exist natively on one chain? That would be, of course, much preferable. These are things that we are looking out for. Generally, very bullish on interoperability. I think, the time for tribalism in crypto is pretty much over. Happy to see it. I'm very much looking forward to a future where people don't care whether their asset is living on ETH or AVAX. I think that will be also a very beneficial thing for the whole space.
I think you just hit the nail on the head there, Jonathan, with that. Because why should people care what chain a particular asset is on? They just want that asset. They want to be able to purchase it. They want to be able to trade, to buy, sell, do whatever. And also, why should they have to choose a particular chain? Why shouldn't they just be able to go on chain and transact? Isn't that
right?
So much
I think it's more of the it's more of the AVAX people, of course, advocating for AVAX is going to be the number one facilitator of that, and of course that is true for every other chain. Very, very much excited to see where this is going.
Everybody wants their chain to be the successful one, and I think the market, it'll make its own choice about what chain is the predominant one over the coming years, and maybe that'll change around a little bit. But I think where we come from is that we're just going to unite those chains and let people make the choice about where they want to be. I think that's actually really, really important. So
I just wanna. I'm sorry, firstly, because my internet is actually not that good. I'm sorry. So for this about this question, our platform, by the way, on Arbitrum and also on Polygon, and we want, as I mentioned, the future, like to launch more in our project in more chain, because cross-chain, I believe it affects RWA in a good way, because in the end, you can increase the liquidity, the accessibility for the tokenized assets, and it would be more because cross-chain, it would be more effective, especially for the RWA transactions within the decentralized finance, the DeFi. So I believe it's effect in a good way and a positive one, and this is one of our plan to be more in more having more chains.
Indeed, no, absolutely brilliant. So when we're talking about those real world asset side of things, what about the compliance and the regulatory frameworks that are out there? How do you work around that, or how do you comply with that? Even it's probably closer to reality. And I'll open that up to whoever wants to go first, whether that's Mikkel or Jonathan or hang on, I think we've just lost somebody in there. Anyway, we'll open it up. We'll start with Mikkel if you want.
Yeah, maybe some family interference here.
I think so. Yeah, that's okay. We've got to take into account people have a life, so definitely go for it, Jonathan.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I just got lost in my script here a little bit.
Yeah, so no, it's really around compliance and regulatory frameworks. How do you work with that? How do you solve that?
Yeah, thanks. So of course, it starts first with the issuer of an asset. So, depending on where you are in the world, you have to comply with a different set of rules. So I think that would be the first step. Then for the protocol to be operating, also within compliance around the world, that will also be, probably a legal process to be checking on whether this protocol is meeting all of the criteria. But that is still all in the works. Of course, regulation always tries to catch up to innovation. And I think that is what we are seeing currently now. I touched upon it earlier. So in Europe, it will be mandatory that assets can be blacklisted if requested by, well, let's say the government, for a lack of a better idea of which institution it's going to be like. But yes, that is coming to Europe. So if you are having an asset, you need to be able to blacklist it under certain conditions. And that is going to be posing a huge challenge to protocols, to assets. And that is something that we want to be able to facilitate. So because we are dealing with a highly regulated environment with Forex, RWAs, we want to be proactive in trying to comply with future regulations even. So if somebody is requesting us to blacklist assets, that is going to be possible. It doesn't put the protocol at risk as it is currently with Uniswap, for example. I explained if your Tether, if your USDC are getting blacklisted, but you're having them provided on Uniswap, well, you can kind of circumvent that blacklisting. The European Union doesn't like it, and therefore a lot of these protocols are running a risk of not being compliant anymore. And yeah, that is what we want to tackle. So we want to make sure that we are ready for all of these challenges. And I'm feeling quite confident that we are, frankly.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jonathan, for that, for all of that. And I'll jump over to Mikkel. If you're still available, I'm not sure if you're... No, maybe not at the moment. Maybe slightly preoccupied with a few things. And over to Hadir then. A little bit of an idea on how compliance and those regulatory frameworks can maybe not even just hinder you, but help you as well. I think we've probably just lost Hadir again. I think some of the people are jumping in and out tonight because they've got some pretty poor internet connections. Mikkel, are you back with us?
Yes. Sorry.
Brilliant. Not a problem at all. That's fine.
Compliance, man, it's like you can't live with it. You can't live without it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to kind of break stuff in this space. And to me, like, we're not all going to be winners. Like, some of us are going to have great products and take those risks and get shut down by by lawsuits and things like that. It's like, it's just what we have to do early in the space is kind of like break things to like disrupt the old system. Because if we do everything like completely compliant and incrementally go slow and tiptoe up to that line and then wait until they approve a moving of the line, like we will never get anywhere as a space. So I really just applaud all of the builders who are out there kind of like breaking things a little bit. And forcing the attention on regulations so that we can get these lines moved, because the financial system is just broken, right? Like, I think everyone can agree that it's not working for everyone. It's working for a select few, and the people that it's working for are going to protect that. So I appreciate compliance. I think we need it eventually, but I think, the builders out there kind of shaking stuff up and making people look at and reevaluate the laws around our financial system. I just really applaud them and thank them for their work.
Absolutely. And look, none of us like all of that compliance. And in my career, I've done a little bit of work around that space with the old, this is going back a little while, the old SOX, or what they call Sarbanes-Oxley laws in the traditional banking world. And that was pretty full on, very boring work, but full on. But I'm going to move on now to looking at things from a user perspective. So being able to tokenize real world assets, or in fact any form of asset, whether it's an RWA or even the gaming side of it, how does that democratize the access to either traditional financial instruments or even across whether it's DeFi or gaming? Because ultimately they're, it's all transactional. And who wants to go first? Maybe Jonathan?
Yeah, sure. I think much broader access to financial instruments is, of course, a positive. Compliance is playing a role here as well. So usually it involves passing KYC in some form, but still, passing KYC is, of course, much easier than getting access to, well, the American stock market, depending on where you are in the world. So yeah, it's going to make it more easy, but of course, it's also going to make it a little bit more risky. You have to manage your own keys. And yeah, I think like that is one of the challenges still. I think a lot of people are more comfortable with trading on a Robinhood account than, yeah, storing their key somewhere safely. And then they run a risk of losing it. That is a real headache for a lot of people. So I think that is something that we'll have to solve too in this space. But I see that really as one of the few remaining hurdles. Yeah, I think I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan, for that. And Mikkel, any thoughts or comments about the things from a user perspective? And how does it democratize access to traditional financial instruments, or even on the gaming side, anything?
Yeah. Just generally, I guess, that like large swaths of the world are unbanked and don't have access to like traditional markets of any kind, let alone like Robinhood or any type of exchanges. So in a decentralized world where anybody can, connect, create their own wallet and then connect to different exchanges, they're going to have access, maybe not to everything, and it may be not perfect, it may be there's a lot more risk involved, but for me, like, I would rather take on risk than not have access, period, because I know if I don't have access, period, I have like zero chance of ever improving my financial situation.
I think you're right there. You're totally right. And let's see if we've got any of the other speakers coming back up again. Brad, yep.
Oh yeah. So to add to that, I think Mikila has already said it. So the tokenization of the real world asset gives the people from the third world countries the ability to participate in that side of the market, and then in the general crypto market as well. It opened up a new market space for like the whole crypto space, because we are talking about bringing the traditional finance on chain. So it's like bringing new opportunity to the users.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I think you're right. I did a bit of a global trip last year, and one of the things that we saw was in certain countries which people would call third world, and you actually start seeing people on the side of the road paying for things using crypto, irrespective of which one it was. The fact is, we're starting to see faster adoption from some of those countries of crypto as a means of payment, as a store of wealth. We get countries around the world that have pretty poor economies, or pretty bad inflation, and being able to move assets into crypto actually enables them to safeguard the value of their money. So what we're going to touch on now. Sorry, go on. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more like saying that from experience perspective, because what you are just saying, I am also from one of the third world countries, and I can tell you this: my country is one of the top countries with the highest traded crypto volume in the whole of Africa, and the way the adaptation of crypto is going on here is very, very, very massive. So yeah, even in the third world country, it's growing rapidly, and it's interesting to see what it will be in the next 3 to 5 years.
And I think one of the things that crypto and blockchain in general is going to introduce is the ability to level the playing field. And I know that sounds quite generic, but imagine being able to give countries the ability to trade literally anything using crypto, and you've got the safety and security that that blockchain offers with those transactions. I think that's something that we're going to start seeing. A lot of those countries that we might have previously described as third world as probably being the fastest adopters, because it gives them the biggest benefit. And unfortunately for those, if we look at, say, across to America, the amount of regulation, I know we spoke about it earlier, but the the compliance and the regulatory frameworks that are being put in place, or that they're trying to put in place and block crypto and do all those sort of things, is really over to those financial institutions trying to safeguard their space. I actually don't think they have a choice. It's going to happen whether they like it or not. But what they want to try and do is to own it. And I think it's over to people like us and projects that like us to actually take that ownership back and give it back to the people. That to me is where we're going to start seeing a significant shift. And let's sort of hope that these projects do achieve it. Some of them might fall by the wayside. Others are going to be very, very successful. And can we pick them? No. It just depends on the drive of those of the founders, of the developers, of the people who are marketing it, all of the teams. So moving on from there, I'm just going to touch on what role do you see smart contracts and blockchain overall? How do you see that playing with the transparent execution of transactions? And maybe I'll throw it over to Jonathan first.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of having an immutable ledger is, of course, very obvious. So transparency, immutability, well, hopefully also low transaction costs. These are features that we want to expect from Web3. And hopefully Web2 will integrate blockchain. I think that is really our biggest chance here. So all of the current providers of RWAs, they making their switch to blockchain to enjoy all of these benefits. I think that is probably a huge move waiting to happen. So traditional brokers utilizing all of these benefits and without their users perhaps even noticing. That is what I'd be looking forward to.
Excellent. And what I might do is open that up to Mikkel. Oh, Brad, if you're already speaking, go for it.
Just to add to that, with smart contracts comes a lot of automation. So this takes away the need to have like a middle entity to do the verification of stuff like that. So smart contract basically takes away all that stress, and then it also saves time. And I think it's cost efficient as well. But yeah.
Totally agree with you there. And I think that's something that we've focused on is the ability to be able to transact in a much faster, safer and cheaper manner. Being able to go cross-chain where you're actually transacting from one wallet to the other, rather than having to go through things like those bridges to pass over control to the bridge where they get hacked, having to panic and wait for. We actually had one project that we're talking to going back a few months, where they were taking 7 days to reach finality. It's crazy. This is crypto. It should be done in seconds, if not milliseconds, and that's something that we're introducing on Layer X. We can do that within around 500 milliseconds, and it also depends on the other chain because we're constrained by their speed. But being able to do that is absolutely huge. So I'll throw it open to Hadir if you're still with us. Maybe give us an idea of the user perspective for the tokenization of assets and democratizing access.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, the voice is breaking, you and the speaker, so I don't know. Regarding the I believe the last question, the smart contract, how it affect or how it works in the RWA overall. So I believe the smart contract, one of the most important thing for sure in the whole industry, because it's ensure not only the security, but also the ownership and the transaction, So because of the smart contract and the blockchain, we can have more safe and secure and transparency, as we mentioned before, and also the old speakers. So this is one of the things that we need to tokenize the RWA, or to enter RWA within the DeFi word. So that's it. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for that. I think we've had a few issues with people with some internet connections, and to be honest, I think that occurs anywhere in the world. especially when you're trying to bring together a lot of people to talk online. But maybe now what we might do is do a little bit of a quick touch, talk to everybody about looking to the future, about the trends that you see, and whether you see a convergence of those RWAs and decentralized finance overall. What do you see as the future? Start off with Mikkel, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So kind of like, I guess, touching on the last question too about, where the smart contracts and the different benefits that we have here in blockchain. So just, I think a lot of people FUD the financialization and crypto and that kind of heavy aspect, but we wouldn't have people here building smart contracts and as much money pouring into the space in terms of VC capital. We wouldn't have all the incredibly talented and smart builders here if there weren't those financial aspects. And I think that's something that really works about capitalism, right? We incentivize people building the things that are very much needed by society. And I think over time, the financialization kind of will phase out, right? To me, crypto is 100% the new infrastructure of the internet. It is going to take time to port these legacy systems over to this new infrastructure. There has to be sufficient incentive for people to do so. But I really see that happening. And then we're not, these are the gold rush years, right? This is when people are going to speculate and get rich and make bets on who will be, what will the ultimate chain be, what will the ultimate technology be. And that's all fine and great. But ultimately, we're moving to a future where people can transact safely online and people can, have access to these financial instruments that they otherwise would not be able to. And it just really takes power away from centralized governments and stuff too, which is a whole nother topic, but it's something that I am very excited about for the future. So just really happy to be here building with you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Over to Jonathan now.
Yeah, so from a personal perspective, I'm really, really curious to see on, how I can increase my capital efficiency. So maybe even buying treasury bills will be something I would consider personally. Since we are all involved with crypto, I think we probably rather own Bitcoin, Ethereum than S&P 500 stocks. But with RWAs coming to crypto, for me personally, it will open up a completely new field that I will be very eager to explore. And hopefully that can catch a lot of the existing crypto crowd and hopefully also bring a lot of the Web 2 crowd over to crypto. So this is where I see this going. I want to buy treasury bills. I want to collateralize them, take out a loan, and boom, you name it, 8 more steps down the road, I have tripled my capital in some sense. That is what I'm personally very, very eager to explore.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Hadir, would you like to give us your views on the future?
Yeah, sure. So I believe, from my opinion, that after maybe 4 years around, we'll see a huge industry because of RWA, because as I said, it's like a door. And I believe even the regulation side, the compliance side, even the governments, all countries will be able to enter the blockchain and crypto space through the tokenization word. So even I meet also close friends, they don't believe in crypto still. I don't know how, but they don't believe. But because of tokenization, when I talk to them about tokenization, they think about crypto in a different way, about blockchain in a different way, because as I told you, we just need to share more awareness about blockchain, how the blockchain can do, for all of us. And one of the things that tokenization, so I believe, it would be crazy more. So that's it.
Brilliant. And I think you just hit the nail on the head for people who don't really understand blockchain and they think it's just a thing. They just don't really get it. When you start talking about those RWAs and how they can actually tokenize certain things in that they invest in, I think you indicated you're over in the Middle East. I'm guessing Dubai. Imagine being able to tokenize not just assets, but also your own personal data. Imagine being able to take control of that back, where you own it. You own who sees that data, who can actually market to you, so that you're actually earning from it. It's yet another type of asset. But I think they're the sort of things that we're going to start seeing coming up in the future. And I might pass over to Brad now.
There's one of the
sorry,
examples, I'm sorry, that I just remember now, that there's a restaurant here. It's like a restaurant mixed with cafe. I found that they tokenized the restaurant through an NFT. It was really like the first example, like live. I saw it here in Dubai. So when I went to the restaurant, I found there's a lot of NFTs, different NFTs and different assets. And they told me that they tokenized their asset about the restaurant through an NFT. So here in Dubai, the hype is getting more, so, and I believe we will see different examples and different ways about tokenization.
I think that's brilliant. Brad, over to you.
Sorry, I kind of missed the question.
Yeah, it's really about where you see the future and maybe the convergence of those real world assets and the tokenization of them and DeFi in general. How is that going to? How do you see the future, and especially for where you are in the world?
Yeah, I would say in terms of that, for me particularly, I have been using stable coins particularly to save money in USDT. So, and I'm kind of using it as a way to hedge against inflation in my country. So that's like one use case, right? And then, with stable coins, there's a lot of payment systems that are already integrating the use of stable coins to make payments with your cards, and then also I think another use case would be the Forex. So exchanging one currency with another currency is going to be made very, very easy with the use of, DeFi. So like those are the ways I'm seeing DeFi could actually help. And then the whole interoperability as well can help in making things a lot easier using the blockchain.
Excellent. No, thank you so much for that. All right, guys, I think we've probably gone over the hour, and there is a lot more questions, but I think what we might do is save them for another time. It's been fantastic having you all on board and listening to you all tonight. And I know we've had a few little issues with people with internet connections, and probably a few of the speakers couldn't even get up tonight. And we're sorry about that, but we'll bring them back on another X Talks. Thank you all so much for participating, and we'll say good night, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
everyone.
having us. Thank you.
Thanks for us.
Yeah, thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Thank you very much for having us. One last thing before we close the space. Our testnet is live, so anybody on this page that is willing to check out our product can just DM me or Jonathan, and then we can add you to the testnet whitelist to check out our product. But yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Thank
you everyone for jumping in this X Talks. Just a reminder that if you aren't in our Discord, please join. If you know any projects that would like to do AMA with us, check out our page called Interoperability X Talks. Send us a DM and we'll take care from there. Thank you everyone for jumping in. See you all in the next episode of X Talks. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.